And in today's training, just to kind of recap what we've done, last week we started out on Monday with Tommy. He went over the opportunity. Tuesday, you heard Casey Kunash go over, rapport and the phones. Wednesday, I'm pretty sure we had Drew going over some of the no-cost benefits. Thursday was, I think, what was it, Vince? Thursday, Vince. And then Friday was Tommy again with the recap. And then today, moving forward, we're going to talk about the second half of the presentation. You guys all took a test recently and passed it for what? Insurance. Well, guess what? That's what we're going to talk about now. Now we're into the good stuff. We did all the no-cost stuff, the beginning stuff. Now we get to talk about why we're actually here. And I'm happy I get to go over it with you. It's the agency training link, bro. It's the same one every week. And this, all these people are on it. This guy's the best of the best right here. Let's go. Let's go. So, what's up, Phil? There we go.
What's up, Vince?
I don't do your releases. Gio does your releases. Okay. Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. You got it. Great. So now we'll go over insurance moving forward. Okay. So today, one thing I definitely want to make sure everyone knows, mental note, always prepare yourself for your presentation. I can't tell you how many people get started with their presentation and then they make it to a certain point and they're like clicking all kind of buttons to get caught up. Why don't you just get caught up before it starts? So one thing, I'll share my screen with you guys. One thing I always like to do before I even do any of my sits is I always like to make sure my presentation screen's up. So the presentation slides. I always like to make sure my e-app is to the needs analysis. Get the e-app all the way to the needs analysis. And then I also like to make sure I have the quote sheet up. And then you always want to have some scratch paper laying around you because you're going to have to write. This is where you're going to be writing down numbers. You're going to be doing all kind of crazy stuff. And just being as prepared as possible is the important part. And another thing, guys, I've found this out so many times. I'll be halfway through my presentation. And I know this is going to happen to one of you. You're going to forget the client's name. You're like, oh, shit, what's their name, right? So write their name down. The good part is it pops up in the corner now, which is even better. But I would literally go into houses because we had to go face to face. And sometimes I'd be halfway through my sit and I forget the person's name. Like, oh, my God, right? So write their name down, too, just to kind of keep that up to date. But, like I was telling you, one thing is the needs analysis. I like to get that pulled up. I also like to feedback here. Let me mute you guys up just until we get to the point. Here we go. All right, cool. If you guys do want to talk, just unmute. That's all. But I always like to get my screen pulled up to this page. When it's on this page, I know that it's going to start talking about insurance. Okay, so just to bring it back, how do we start this? Ready? You need the link. What do you want?
That's on
here. Just look at it, man. We got it right here, right?
I'm trying, but you're looking at the camera. I'm looking at your back.
All right, we'll come sit right here. We'll make things better, right?
You can't just send me the link.
Casey sent it to you.
I just sent it right here in the chat.
Same one for every training class.
Oh no, you can't see that shit.
Okay, well then come sit up here. We're doing training, recording. Everyone knows that Mason doesn't have the link now. So all the people that watch in the future.
Mason, I sent a link in the group me.
Well, I never used it because I'm here.
Cool. So it's all good. He could come sit right next to me and we could be best buds today. But, just starting out. So in the script, just, where we're at right now, we went over all the no cost benefits. Now we have to transition into life insurance, right? So how do we transition into life insurance? Well, the cool part is you can literally just say, guys, it's 2021 and most people we sit down with have life insurance. However, not everyone we sit down with knows what they have or how it works. That's all you got to say. That's a good transition, right? So now at that point, if you're using the presentation screen, your screen should be blank. And you can say, now there's over 48 different types of life insurance. I'm not going to sit here and name all 48 for you, Mason, but they fall under two main categories. Or if I got a trainee with me, I'll say, there's 48 different types. And Phil, before we get started, I'm going to have Mason name all 48 types for us and we'll get started. All right. And it kind of gets them laughing a little bit, gets it good. I got the same corny jokes in every house too. That's another thing. Get your corny jokes down and use them, make them work, make them laugh, make them cry, make them buy, right? So there's over 48 different types. They fall under the two main categories, which we have term and we have whole. And then sometimes if they're older people, guys, I'll straight up ask them, I'll say, Gabby, are you familiar with these two terms? And sometimes they'll just straight up say no. Okay, great. Or if they say yes, I say, awesome. I'm just going to give you a refresher then. You know what I mean? I'm not going to just skip them. I'm still going to go over what I got to go over. But I just basically let them know, like, I want to find out what they know about it too. If the 50-year-old lady never heard about term in whole life, holy cow, I'm going to blow her mind and change the whole direction of her family by the time I'm done. So term is for the if in life. If you pass away while you have it, you're covered. Anything you ever get offered through a job will always fall under this category. Guys, term typically works in periods of 10 years, periods of 20 years, periods of 30 years. I'm just going to give you a quick example of a 10-year, $100,000 policy. So let's just say you were 35 years old when you purchased it. At the age of 35, for $100,000, it cost you about $1 per day, $30 a month for that $100,000. Now, 10 years would go down the road, right? You would hit the age of 45. Listen to the verbiage here. If you wanted to keep the same insurance, Phil, what do you think would happen to the cost if you wanted to keep it? You said it, right? Go up. So I need my client interacting with me. I need them to make sure they understand this. I'm asking questions, right? So what do you think will happen when you hit 45? Goes up. You're right. If they don't know, say they get it wrong. If they're like, it goes down, I'm not going to clown. I'm not going to, no, you're wrong. It goes down. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, yeah, you're close. Actually, with this type of insurance, it actually goes up, right? I'm just kind of giving you guys like what runs through my mind mentally as I'm running through this stuff for this client, okay? So $60 a month. 10 more years go down the road. Now you're 55 years old, Gabby. You still want that same insurance. What do you think happens? Goes up again, right? And now all of a sudden for that same policy, you're paying $120. And then we make it to the point of retirement. Now, guys, keep this in mind. This is where people are getting their pensions. This is where they're getting their 401k. Heck, some people are getting Social Security at this age, at 65, right? Finally start drawing on all the money that they've been saving for their whole life. And what do you think happens with their term life? Yeah, you got it. They either get rid of it or they raise it through the roof where we pretty much can't afford it. And they'll raise it through the roof by adding an extra zero to that 120, make this thing $1,200 a month and have your client like, whoa, right? So, or they'll just straight up just cut them off altogether and say, hey, you're no longer allowed to, have this term no more. So what do? We consider it like renting. Families will pay into it over the course of their whole entire lives. They'll make it to that certain point, and then what do? They give the keys back to the landlord. There's nothing left. Now, I'm not going to bash term. It's great for certain things. Income protection, mortgage protection, debt, but it's not meant to be in place forever. So never bash term, because you'll sit down with people that are all about Dave Ramsey, term, right? Well, you need to know if they want term, give them term. Like, don't be trying to give them whole life if they want term, right? So don't ever bash term, because some people love term. Just educate, okay? Now, the next type of insurance is whole life, and that's for the when you die. It's inevitable. We're all going to pass away. None of us know when, right? Same person, 35 years old, that $100,000 might cost them $80, a little bit more expensive up front. But as you see here, once you lock it in, what happens? The price never changes. You could be 45, 55, have a heart attack, get cancer, make it all the way to the age of 100 years old. Guess what? Still locked in at the same price that you got it, never going up on you. Can't take it away as long as payments are made. So whole life builds cash value. Whole life builds cash value. It's like a bank account. And do you guys know what the interest on our bank accounts grow at nowadays? About 1/4% to 0.5% if you're lucky. Well, this, while it's protecting your family, grows at 4.5%. So it's like 20 times the bank account while it's protecting your family. It's like a bank account on steroids, some people like to say, right?
You say a bank account is quarter or half?
1/4%, 0.5%. You might find a credit union out there that gives you 1%, but usually it's like 1/4%. This is 4.5% while it's protecting your family. You hear that? While it's protecting your family. The other thing whole life gives you is paid up options. So you could actually pay on this thing, make it to a certain point in your life, stop paying it, and have a certain amount paid off for your family when you die. Now, if they still don't understand term and whole, I'll say, just to wrap this up, guys, term is like renting, whole life is like owning. That simple. Rent, own, builds equity, grows, rents, right? Take it one step farther, just for you, like just for you. Term, if you have a bucket here, right? You're putting that money into that bucket over all those years. This is my little magic bucket I'm drawing here. Putting all that money in there. It's going towards something called cost of insurance. You make it to the age of 65, a hole goes in that bucket, all that money pours out to who? To the insurance company. You have nothing left. With whole life, you have a little bit bigger bucket. You're putting a little bit more in there as well, right? The same amount's going in towards cost of insurance. Can't get around that. We always got to pay for that cost of insurance. But now there's another category in this bucket. You know what they call that? Cash value. That's what grows at that 4.5% interest. Okay. So now you have to ask the client. This is so important. You ready? Mason, do you understand the difference between term life and whole life?
Yeah.
I get a verbal yes from them. Mason, which one makes the most sense for your family?
Whole.
Whole. Why'd you say whole?
Because it covers me for life.
Because it covers you for life. Okay, gotcha. Do you have any longevity in your family? And you should know this from building rapport, but
Yeah.
yeah, right? Anyone makes it to their 80s or 90s, chances you make it to your 80s or 90s, that term won't be there. Right?
How do you draw that bucket? You just clicked on like the pen on the presentation.
See right here, annotate,
Annotate.
and then draw.
And you can just do it. And
Do
then
whatever you
clear
want.
it.
And then it's clear.
You just right click on it.
Left click. All right, so you guys good with term and whole, right? I'm gonna take it one step farther. Don't be going around showing this off to everyone. I just want you guys to know this. There is one other type. It's called universal life. Okay, universal life or flexible premium adjustable life. They pretty much fall under the same category. So if you ever hear your clients, this is where you got to learn life insurance. If they're like, oh yeah, I got MetLife. Oh, I got Prime America. Oh, I got American General. You heard of that one, right? So if they have like Prime America, Allstate, MetLife, American General, I said it twice. Well, they like to throw a word in front of this word whole. And it might say universal, or it might say flexible, premium, adjustable life. Now, if a life insurance company is going to flex your premium, which way do you think they're going to flex it? Up. And at the same time, if they adjust your life insurance, which way are they going to adjust it? Down, right? So if you ever see this, and one way to find out if they have something like this too, guys, really like just knowledge of insurance that you can just write down and never forget. When you're sitting with your client, ask them this. Do you get statements? Do you get quarterly or yearly statements? If they get statements, they most likely have one of these policies. Okay. Now, if they have one of these policies, it's not the end of the world. There are good ones out there, but 90% of them are no bueno, no good, right? So basically, what happens is they'll come in, and for that same policy, we charge $80 a month for that 100,000. They'll come in and say, "Oh, I'll give it to you, Phil, for $60." Now, any American I sit down with is going to go with the $20 a month cheaper, right? So what happens is they invest your money though into the stock market, and it's all projected to grow at 11 to 12%. So we'll write that down. Projected to grow at 11 to 12%.
That's the universal flex premium.
But it's guaranteed growth, which if you're talking about your family, we're going to go off the guarantees. I'm just going to put a G here. 3 to 4%. So during the first 20, 25 years, sometimes of that member having the policy, yes, they will build cash value just like they will with a traditional whole life plan, right? Let's say they make it all the way up to like $9,000 of cash, right? Well, what happens is 1 year goes by when, and this happens to everyone. I don't want to confuse you guys. Pretty much between the age of, here, I'm gonna type it in because my drawing sucks. Between the age of 65 and 73. So between these 8 years in this gap here, which you guys have seen me draw, this gap, right? Between this gap, what happens is they'll get their statement and that cash value would go from 9,000 to 8,000. Probably didn't even notice it. Next year, another year goes by. Now they're 2 years into that, cash value goes from 8,000 maybe down to 5,000. Next year goes by, they get that statement, probably don't even look at it again. That cash value goes from 5,000 to 2,000. 1 more year goes by. Guess what? No more insurance. I mean, no more cash value. So that cash value goes to pretty much zero. Now what happens is the next month, the client will get a bill for $500 to $700 a month for life insurance. They're going to call their insurance company up and say, hey guys, what happened? Did I miss all last year's premiums? And they're going to say, no, Phil, when we invested your money, it was all what? Projected to grow at 11 to 12%, but it really only grew at 3 to 4%. So what we had to do was we had to start using all of the money you developed over the past 20 years to come out and keep your policy at $60 a month. But now that all that money's gone, Phil, guess what? You have to pay for the full cost of your insurance, which, like I said, will be between $500 and $700 a month. And what do you think most people between the age of 65 and 73 do when they get a bill like that? You think they pay it, or do you think they get rid of it?
Get rid of it.
They get rid of it. Why? Because they're usually on a fixed income. They can't afford it. So this was like one step farther. You guys really don't have to know this right now. But if you can get this down, I promise you, you'll sit with 1 to 2 people a month that have this type of stuff. And that'll be anytime I ever sat down with someone who had this, always a sale, guaranteed sale. Boom. You got a universal payday. And I'm protecting them the right way. And they get protected the right way. It ain't even about the money. It's about protecting them.
So when they touch the money, the cash value that they built up over the years, that's just to cover premium.
It just comes out to keep the premiums the same. But once all that money's gone, what happens is they get a bill for the full cost of insurance, because the insurance on those types of policies go up every single year. But they take it out of the cash, and at first you pay more for the policy than you have to, but then down the road it catches up, and then they start taking it out of your cash. Does that make sense? We're on the same page? Let's just stick to the 2 main types. I took it one step farther just because I'm hanging out with you guys today. All right, so term and whole. We asked him which one makes the most sense for his family. He said whole life. Okay, great. Why? Because it doesn't go away. Boom. Next. Your union. They go through contract negotiations. I'll ask him. I'll say, Phil, you've been in the union 7 years. Have you ever been a part of like a strike or a lockout that they've had? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no, you know. I just kind of want to get to know, like, oh, this guy's new in the union. He don't really even know what's up with his benefits. Oh, this guy's been in the union for 10, 15 years. He knows what's up with his benefits, right? So, your union goes through contract negotiations. And, this last time that they had, anyone get together to come up with any solutions, the members, us, you guys, brought a list of concerns to our labor advisory board. Now, our labor advisory board actually sits 50 union presidents from the Teamsters, police officers, heck, the NFL guy sits on there. And what they do is every year they come up with solutions to problems that the members are having. Now, this time around, there was a list of 6 concerns. The first one was the lack of permanent and portable benefits. Guys, the members aren't in control of their benefits. No control of them, somebody else's, right? It's a major issue. So the first area that they really looked into was for final expense protection. Now, here, you gotta get the verbiage down. Phil, if something ever were to happen to you, did you ever think if you'd want to be buried, cremated?
I'd want to go to a mausoleum.
Mausoleum. Okay, great. And do you know what the average cost of that is nowadays?
$75,000.
Holy smokes. Okay, great.
I'm just fucking.
Yeah, so you know, typically people are saying earth burial, cremation. That's why we have those examples come up there. But I'll ask them that question. Do you know what you want? Did you ever think if something were to happen, would you want buried or cremated? I want to get them thinking. And then the next question is, do you know what the average cost of that is? And then just let them go. Let them say something. Whatever they say, just agree with them and proceed. Right? So, and then I'll pull it up right here on the screen. Average funeral, guys, 7 to 15,000. Average cremation, 3 to 7,000. And that's today. 20 years ago, we could get buried for 4 to 6,000 and cremated for less than 1. But every 20 years, our milk, bread, eggs, I mentioned the G word, gas, what happens is it goes up. It actually doubles. Doubles every time there's a new person in office too. Look, gas prices went up since the new president came, right? He also shut down freaking 700,000 jobs, but let's go. So earth burial, cremation, and then what you'll see on here is everything's expected to double every 20 years. So you could even use like what's going on out in the road right now. Like, look what just happened. Like gas prices went up by like, they went from like 230 to 270 in less than a month.
Is that because of the pipeline news?
I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't watch the news. I just focus on me and grinding. And I mean, I honestly, it probably is. They shut down the whole freaking Keystone pipeline, and now we're gonna have to import our oil, and it's gonna cost us more, right? For tree huggers, we have to save the trees. I love it, baby. I love me some trees. My office got mad trees in here. Look at this. Trees. I got big trees. So earth burial. Now, what I will tell you guys is this is the only area the company is going to recommend our members have any whole life protection. Why? Because we all have 2 guarantees in life: death and taxes. And I'm from an area, Phil, where I've seen people get around taxes, but I never seen anyone get around this one. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I tell them. I tell them that straight up. I've seen people get around taxes. I've never seen anyone get around final expenses.
Death and taxes were what?
The 2 guarantees in life. 2 guarantees in life: death and taxes. Right? Whole life. Next area of concern they had for the member was our loss of income. Now, Phil, you and Gabby obviously rely on each other's income, and if something were to happen to either one of you, that would probably change your life around the house, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so Phil, it's hard enough without you, man. Imagine without that paycheck. Our company will actually look to have anywhere between 3 and 5 years of your income still coming into your household if you did not. Now, Phil, do you get any life insurance through your work?
Yeah, I think I have a term policy.
Term policy, you know how much roundabout that is? Is it like 10,000, 20,000? Do you take a little bit more?
I'd have to check with my supervisor. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Do you know if you pay anything more with that, or?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. Here's the thing. I was trying to get that out of you because typically if they take what they get from their job, it's usually like between 10 and 20. Okay. But
okay.
if they pay a little bit more, like if they're like, oh yeah, they take $3 out or something every pay, well then they probably got about 1 year of their income protected. If they take about $6 out, it'd probably be about 3 years. And if they take about $9 out, it'd probably be about 5 years of their income. Okay. And I just found that to be, you know, asking the clients like, oh yeah, how much do you, oh, they take about $5 out. Okay. You probably got about 3 years of your income protected then. You know, and they'll figure it out. They'll find it. They can look right on their pay stubs a lot of times.
Yeah.
But, you know, I try to get that out of them there because I want to spend that insurance. If they have any insurance, I got to spend it. I got to get rid of it. I got to spend it. And I'm going to put it right towards the income. Okay. Now, the next area of concern that they had was for the mortgage. Now, do you guys rent or own your home? Oh, you own? Okay. Now, be smart about this. If they own their home, do you guys know like mortgages? You know, like the different types of mortgages out there? They do like 30-year, 15-year. Yeah. Just be smart about it. Ask them a question. Ready? So how long have you lived in your home, Phil?
Yeah, I already asked, or you would have already asked me that, but yeah, 5 years.
5 years. So you've been there for 5 years, you told me, and I did that from rapport, right? You've been there for about 5 years. And when you bought your house, did you do a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage?
30.
30. So you probably got about 25 left then, right?
Uh-huh.
See, I just did the math for them. Sometimes people will literally be dumbfounded on it. I don't know how much longer I got. I'm like, here, I'll do the math for you. How long have you lived there? Okay, you've been there for 5 years. You got a 30-year mortgage. You got 25 years left. Done. I did it for you, right? And then here's my question is, Phil, if something were to happen to you, do you have mortgage protection to pay off the house in case of death?
No.
No. So then I'll look to your spouse. I'll say, Gabby. Now I'm assuming if something were to happen to Phil, then you would be the one responsible for the mortgage?
Yes.
I just brought it to their attention. They already knew what it was. They knew what it was. Like, Phil, you knew if you died, Gabby was paying the mortgage, but I had to bring that concern up. The problem, good.
Nobody wants to talk about that, right? So you have to bring it up.
You have to. And now it's there. We see it. It's real. And I'll say, we do have protection in place, Phil, where if something does, God forbid, happen to you, that we can pay off the house for Gabby, and out here in Illinois, maybe we can even add a little bit of tax protection. Because
yeah, you need that.
Everyone out here complains about the taxes, right?
It's true.
So hey, if their house is paid off, oh, your house is paid off, phenomenal. Now, if you were to pass away, would you want to leave the house behind to Gabby, or would you just want her to sell it? Oh, you want to leave it behind? Why? Because it's a house we built. It's the one we built memories in, right? All right, well, hey, look, so she ain't faced with freaking $8,000 a year in taxes. Why don't we just set up 5 years of tax protection for her?
That sounds pretty good.
Right? Just think outside the box with this stuff a little bit. If they're renting, hey, listen, Phil, if you passed away, I don't want Gabby to have to move out the house and, move to a less desirable neighborhood, maybe send the kids to a different school. So we can at least make sure that Gabby can stay in the house for the next 5 years.
Okay, that sounds good.
And whatever you pay a month in rent, get it out of them. I'll just times it by 12 and times it by 5, baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. I got you protection on the rent all day. And then the last area of concern is child education and debt. Now, if you want your kids to go to college, great. You use this. Ready? If you want your kids to go to college, great. But Mason, if you're no longer there, can we give them an opportunity?
No.
What do you think they say? What do you think they say every time I ask them that?
I don't know.
Of course. They say, of course. I was getting, when I started, I'd be like, child education. So, what about little Johnny? If you passed away, we want to make sure you go to college, right? And you'd be like, I'm sitting out union. I had to pay my way through tech school. They can do their own. I'm only responsible for them until they're 18, right? You hear all the freaking things in the book. So the way I found out how to beat it proactively was, hey, we all want our kids to get a better education. If you're no longer here, Phil, can we give them an opportunity? And what do you think they say? Yes, of course, right? And I'll tell them it don't even got to be for an education. It could be to start their own business. Heck, they can go to Las Vegas and put it all on black, all I care, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we got our circle here. Write this down. Most important part of closing process. Anyone ever comes up to you and says, what's the most important part of the closing process, Kwame? You're going to say what I'm going to tell you next. So, Joe, out of all of these benefits, they always make me ask, if you could only choose one to have protected, what would be the most important to you?
Income protection.
Income protection. And why'd you say income protection, Phil?
Because for me and my family, income protection would apply to the mortgage as well as the child education.
Great. And why is that important to you?
All four are very important, but I think that income protection is the most versatile for all four.
Awesome. And then Gabby, if something were to happen to you, what would you say is the most important for your family?
Probably final expenses.
Final expenses. Okay. And why'd you say final expenses?
Just because we don't have that kind of money just laying around if something were to happen.
Great. Okay. So did you guys see what I did? I asked each of them a question. They told me what was the most important to them. And then I asked them why. And then they told me why. And I even followed up with the main person. I said, and why is that important? and he told me a little bit more, right? And now guess what? It's done. You sold them. It's over. Phil's getting income protection at least minimum, drop dead, like foot in the door. We're at least getting the income protection, and Gabby's at least getting final expense protection. Why? Because these are the two most important to her and him. From this point moving forward, like there's no reason you can't get a sale. They literally just told you what was the most important to them. It's done. It's done. So now we asked them the questions, and I go, all right, guys. Now the last benefit that they have for us to go over is your needs analysis survey. Now, what I like about your needs analysis is it actually takes into account your current situation. It determines if you have any gaps in your coverage. If you have any gaps in your coverage, it's going to show you what it recommends. However, if there's none will pop up. And then you got to build this thing up. Build it up. Ready? So, Phil, have you or Gabby ever been to a financial advisor together? No? Okay. Well, if you ever were to go to a financial advisor, what they would do is they would put in place a plan for your future. And before they put that plan in place, they would look sure to make sure the plan was protected. Now, most financial advisors, they'll charge their clients $600 upwards of thousands of dollars a year to do this for them. But your union actually set this up for you at no cost. So this will be the last thing we go over. Excuse me. This will be the last thing we go over for you. And we'll be able to wrap this all up here shortly. Now, this top part, just so you guys know, that's for their AIL Plus card. The top part right here, I'll annotate, is for their AIL Plus card. I recommend filling it out before you get there. You see how you guys clicked on the screen? I already had it all filled out. Yeah, because I'm trying to be proactive and keep the presentation rolling when I'm in the house with the client. I don't want them, hold on, guys. I got to get the info in here. It takes like 2-3 minutes. And then I'm like, there's dead time, with the client. I need to be moving and grooving. I got 5-6 members I got to see today.
Information already in.
Yeah, baby. I got their info in there. And how do I get their info? I pull it right off their lead. Right? So I put as much info as you can in before the sit, just to keep you rolling. Okay. Now, let's scroll down. The actual needs analysis starts where it says needs analysis. So we got Joe Smith in here, got his birthday. And then we got Mary Smith in here. Now, obviously, I don't know Mary's birthday. So, hey, Mary, just to make sure I get your birthday in here. When were you born? Oh, you were born June 2nd. 1990. All right. Awesome. Who chased who then, huh? That's my corny joke. I've been saying it forever, right then and there. As soon as I get the birthdays, because even if they're the same age, I'll still say it. But a lot of times, like if the woman's older than the men, I'll be teasing them a little bit. I see you, cradle robber. You know what I mean? But have some fun with them. Make them laugh, make them cry, make them buy. But here we do got to start getting serious too. We got to really get serious with the client from this point moving forward. So if they have any kids, let's just put in little Jason Smith. That was one of my agent's names before, Jason Smith. That's funny. And then February 2nd, let's just put 2009. Screw it. We'll put 17. All right. So these questions are based on just the people on the application, nobody else. So a lot of life insurance companies will want to know about your parents, your grandparents, your family history. We're only asking them. Look, you got 2 cats back here, Gabby.
They're bad.
You got 2 little ones, huh? Awesome. So basically, with this situation, only on them. Any internal cancers in the past 2 years? These are yes and no questions. Yes or no? Yes, no. All right, perfect. Any insulin diabetes? Any cardiovascular diseases? Any oxygen tanks? Terminal illnesses? Alzheimer's? Do either of you use any forms of tobacco? Guess what, guys? This stuff right here is what? What's this? It's tobacco.
Yeah.
Okay. This is tobacco. Okay. So if they use these things, they call them, I'm not going to say because we're on a business call, but if they use those things, it's tobacco. All right. All right. So basically scrolling down here, anyone on probation or parole, I'll say, you guys behaving? Anyone on probation or parole right now? No? Okay, great. Not yet, Mary, right? You haven't killed Joe yet. All right, awesome. And then any DUIs in the past 5 years? Any DUIs or any arrests? No? Okay, great. Now scrolling down here, household information. We need to get this info so we can take into account for that income protection, right? So the first question for Joe was you and your spouse's monthly take-home pay. So Joe, roundabout, what do you bring home a month take-home? And that's after taxes. Oh, you bring home about $3,000. Okay. And then Mary, what about you? Oh, 1,000, just because you do a little bit of cleaning on the side. Okay, great. And then my next question, which I should already know by now, do you have any life insurance through work? If I don't know by now, this is where you definitely can get it. But let's just say he had 10,000 and she had nothing. And anything outside of work, he had nothing. Her mom got her a $10,000 policy when she was a little girl, and he had 100,000 built in with his car insurance, right?
So what if they don't know this? Would it still?
If they don't know, put it as 0. You don't know, it's 0. Boom, nothing. Because I'm going to show you what it's going to recommend. If they don't know, put it as 0. Don't like, oh, you don't know. What do you think you got? 2, 3, 400,000? We'll just put in 4. No, you're cutting their family short. You know what? You don't know. You got 0. You should know. Straight up. We're talking about the most important thing in your life right now, your family. So next question, do you currently rent or own? You rent, you own. If they own, fill in the info. So mortgage balance, let's say they have 180,000 left for, listen, this blows my mind too. I hate that they even have this on here. See this interest rate right here? It don't give a crap what you put in it. Just so you know, you can put any number you want in there. All right. Just look up what the average interest rate is and put that in there. I don't care. I've been putting in 4% since I started. I don't know. All right. And remember, we did the math. They got 25 years left. Oh, and then look, if you didn't ask that question on that circle, look what it says here.
Mhm.
Do you have mortgage to pay off? Do you have insurance to pay off your mortgage in case of death? It reminds you. Make sure you ask that. If they say no, it's a sale. Like you're getting mortgage protection. They're gonna want to have their home protected. They say, and here's where you can also hit them. Ready? You know, you don't. Okay, so Mary, I'm assuming if something were to happen to you, then Joe, then you know, if something were to happen to Joe, then Mary, you would be the one responsible for the mortgage. Yeah. Okay. So guys, the only reason I was asking is because, you know, they say nowadays, you know, the mortgage is probably one of the biggest assets that we have, you know, that we purchase in our lives, right? But truthfully, Phil, until we pay it off, it's our biggest liability. So that's why they wanted to make sure that you had some mortgage protection there. And then this button right here, another one. Ready? See this? Just make sure it always has this circle. See checking? Click checking all the time. Make sure you always click checking. Always click checking. Always click checking. Always click checking. You guys got it? What do? We always click checking. All right.
What if you did say things with that?
Always. What did I just tell you?
But what if you
Didn't I
did?
just tell you always click checking?
But what if you did?
Just click checking. I just told you, right?
But what if you did? Would it make the math go wrong?
No, I'm just telling you, always click checking. Just don't even ask. Like you don't even gotta ask them. Just click checking. All right. And then see on the bottom, inflation and non-inflation. I always like to keep it to inflation because it's a bigger check for you and it plans ahead for them. Non-inflation is right now. Okay. All right, here we go. This is where the getting gets good. So it's thinking, right? What happens if your computer's slow? Oh snap! Better have some report questions being able to build. Now, what just popped up here? You see what just popped up on the bottom, guys? This is not for your client. This is for you. Okay? Do you see this? This is so you know where the needs analysis is going to go. So what's FE? What do you think?
Before we hit submit, we want to stop sharing
Well, once
our
you
screen.
no, you can hit submit. It can pop up with this real quick, and then you'll hit continue once you see this. Just look at it briefly. It'll take you 2 seconds, right? So just so you know, breaking it down, what's FE?
Final expenses.
You got it. What's IP? Income protection. What's MP? Mortgage protection. What's CE? Child education. What's CR? Child rider. So I know now the needs analysis is going to go over final expenses, income, mortgage, child education. It's going to go over all 4 of those areas. So I can hit continue, and then guess what pops up? What's this called? Anyone know what this is called?
Their read-off letter about their application process.
Yes, the mandatory read-off letter, right? I will tell you this. If they are a part of a union, like this one, SEIU, see this on my screen? If they're a part of a union, their union has their own mandatory read-off letter. Read that one. Okay, if they are a union member,
Where do you get that?
this is in your leads on the bottom of your, when you click your lead, there's a certificate and a group info. This is under group info. If they are part of a union, read the union mandatory read-off letter. If you do not, you're literally just taking chances away. Like, imagine reading a generic thing. Like, for guys, they can get Pfizer or they can get Hims. Which one do you think they want? They want the Pfizer, baby. That's $60. All right. Well, a generic drug or prescription drug. You know what I'm saying? Generic or a name brand, right? Well, the mandatory read-off letter, guys, is like the generic drugs. The one that's on the screen. The one from their union is like the name brand prescription, John.
We know this one from then. Will you read us that one?
It's the same thing. The only thing it has different in there, it says, dear member, the insurance, and listen, you guys got to read this thing over because you got to read it. You have to read it to the client. You can't say, hey, read the screen there and we'll continue. No, you got to sit there and read this thing. It takes like a minute. I tell the client, look, I ain't the best at reading. I've been doing this for 7 years. I still can't say all the words right, right? So I'll be like, all right, well, if I'm going to read their union one, because I'll read it to you guys, it says, dear member, the insurance programs being offered you today are made available on a voluntary basis through the cooperation of the SEIU Local 1 and American Income Life Insurance Company, 100% union label company with a long-standing history of serving union members and their families. American Income Life currently has over 330,000 SEIU members covered under the AD&D policies at no cost, and since 1990 paid out over $32 million in benefits to SEIU members and their families. That's why I want you to read this letter. Because that generic one doesn't say that. It doesn't say we work with 330,000 SEIU members and paid out over $30 million since 1990 to over what? All these SEIU members, just SEIU members. That's why I want you to read their letter, okay? And then look, it goes right back into it. Right here, look. AIL supplemental benefits are not in competition with any group benefits to your workplace/employer and can complement any policies you may already have. If you choose to take advantage of any of the insurance programs offered through AIL, your benefits program is permanent and portable throughout your lifetime. I slow down and emphasize those words, okay? AIL supplemental benefits include automatic built-in features to help members during hard times such as strike and layoff waiver of premium benefit. American Income Life provides insurance services to millions of policyholders throughout the United States, Canada, and New Zealand. Currently has over $50 billion of life insurance in force. If you qualify, your coverage lasts a lifetime is in your independent control. Once the program has been explained to you, we're sure you agree with the many participating members how valuable this program can be in a time of need. There are several benefits available. Please take a few minutes to listen to the AIL representative who is here visiting you. If they can help you your needs in this area, please take advantage today. We would like your feedback, so please take a minute to complete the officer report form. This information helps us serve you more effectively. Fraternally, Thomas Balinoff, the president of the SEIU. And I'll show him. I'll usually have it up on the screen. I'll say, look, here, look, just real quick, because I got him. I'll say, of course, I don't got one pulled up here. All right, I didn't have one, but I'll circle the president's name. I'll say, and that's signed off by who? Who's that signed off by? The president.
So the so basically won't interfere with that or the other one. It's basically still the same thing.
Now you read the letter, and before we click this final expense thing, you have to say you're so basically now. So you just read this. You're a little bit gassed up a little bit. Now what do you got to do? So basically, Phil and Gabby, here's the way that it works. As if I'm going through your benefits and you're nodding your head thinking these are really great benefits. I can see why they had it set up and all the members were excited about it. Then they're going to ask you to try and qualify today while I'm out here. On the flip side, if I go through these benefits, you're nodding your head like, hey, these are really great benefits. They just don't feel a need for me or my family. Then we actually would ask you not to try to qualify. Either way, yes or no, that decision does have to be made today just in fairness to all the other members waiting to enroll. Now, Phil, the great part about the benefits is it's pretty much a no-brainer. So you're going to know at the end whether or not it does fill a need for you or your family. The only thing they asked me to ask you, because they didn't want me to get all the way through this and you say something silly like I wanted to think about it, was if you have any questions at all, will you stop me and ask me? I get verbal yeses. I'm sorry, Phil.
And you would say that?
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
We don't want you to say something silly like because you'd be wasting your time the rest of the presentation.
I just say what's on the words, baby. If your script don't say it, don't say it. But I like to say, I don't know. The only reason they asked me to ask you is they didn't want me to get all the way through this stuff and you say something silly like I want to think about it.
Hmm.
I'm literally I'm taking everything away. They have no chance to tell me they want to think about it. The only thing they can even tell me is they can't afford it, and I'll just make it affordable for them.
Yeah.
I'm beating everything proactively. You ever hear proactive versus reactive? Just be proactive.
Mhm.
You'll have clear skin. Right? So, either way, your group still values your opinion on our officer report form, Phil. Now, we used to be able to come out and meet with you at your house, and we used to have you fill out a report form on when we were there. But now, obviously, we're doing it virtually. So they do ask to leave us a Google review at the end, and I'm gonna get that link sent over to you real quick, okay? And I'll send them a quick text message to the VNA agency. Leave me a review. Hey, think about this. If you don't get a review, it didn't happen. Sit didn't happen. Get the reviewer to sit didn't happen. Imagine that. You'd be getting reviews. You'd be getting mad reviews, right? So get reviews too. You want everyone going to the VNA agency like Phil's the freaking man. He took care of me, got me all my benefits. You want to see Phil, right? So just try to get as many Google reviews as you can too. And then you guys, even at your home, you can't do it here from the office if you ever come here, but post a Google review. I started working for American Income, amazing company. They have so many competition that keeps us going. I don't know.
I don't even know how to do Google review.
All right, we'll teach you later. But that's something too, is let's make sure you know how to do a Google review before you start asking your people to do one. Which all you have to do is go to your phone and then go to Google. All right. And then usually you're logged into a Google account at the top. All right. So I open my phone and get a million messages. Always happens. Right. So look, I went to Google. Slow as hell. And then in the top right hand corner, they'll usually be logged in under their name. Oh, there we go. See, like mine says sign in because it's not logged in under anybody, but they have to be logged in, and then their name will be up there. And then you just go in the search bar, the Vina Agency, right? Type in the Vina Agency, and guess what happens? We pop up, right? So we pop up if you type in the Vina Agency, and then what you can do is you could click the second button over. It says overview and then reviews. Reviews, right? Look, we got 5 stars. And then you literally can sort and look, and then you can leave a review. So see this up and down button? It's like a little arrow, like right here. You guys ain't gonna be able to see it, but it's right there. You just literally click it. You can give it a review and then write something right after. It'll allow you to write something.
That's what they did.
Yeah. So ask everyone for it. Ask them. I want you guys having mad reviews on the page. It'd be sweet, right? And it's gonna help the agency, which is gonna help, when we get more leads, if we ever have a complaint, if you're trying to recruit somebody, people are gonna be like, this is awesome. They got 5 stars.
And then what? The only other one is whenever AIL calls them, they're gonna ask them how.
That's a verification call. Yeah, that's at the end. All right, so mandatory read off letter. So basically, pretty easy. Just read the words and read them before you start reading them. You know what I mean? Like go through it once or twice before you get started with your day. It helps. All right. How do we get into the benefits now? So we just went over the mandatory read off letter. We just did this so basically. Now, how do we get into the benefits?
Not everybody has life insurance.
No, that was earlier, man. That was earlier. Remember 2020, everyone we sit down and has life insurance.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
all
not
the
everyone
time.
knows what they have, but how's it work? Boom, boom, boom. So this is very simple. You guys ready for this? Take some good notes, right?
Mhm.
What's it say right here?
Final expense.
What's it say? Can you read that to me, Mason?
Yeah. Let's examine the need for final expense protection.
Boom. All you got to say. It's that simple. So you did the mandatory read-off letter. You said the so basically. They said yes, makes sense. All right, Joe, let's examine your need for final expense protection. That's all you got to say. That's it. And then play the video.
The warmth of
And
family
we actually
is one
went
of the
down and
most
watched it.
I've been doing this shit for 8 years. All right. Almost in February, next month. And when I first started, I played all the videos because I didn't know the script like I know it now. I can say it in my sleep, obviously. But still to this day, 8 years in, it's the only video I play. And I play the whole thing. And I usually have the volume up, but I'm talking to you guys so you could hear me. I will stop it at certain points, like this point right here, and I'll show them the average funeral cost right here, as you see on the screen. You know, I'll make sure I reiterate, you know, hey, look, as you see, the average funeral is about 15,000. And just like we discussed, you know, we're 10 to 15,000 today. And over the next 20 years, what's going to happen is this stuff's going to be expected to double.
This helps you with your script too.
Yeah, just go right along with it, right? This next part is really important. You guys ever look into Social Security? Well, Social Security, when you pass away, pays out $255. And that's if you qualify. That's what funerals cost when they first started giving Social Security out, and they never increased it since. It's like flowers nowadays. So guys, the rest of this video just goes to say, well, a lot of our members have stuff set up through their workplace or employer. They find out when they get ready to retire, then unfortunately it all goes away. So they say, who would be responsible for these final expenses? You know, would it be a spouse? Would it be children? Sometimes it's people's grandchildren. And then how? Well, we hope that they don't try to sell your home, borrow from friends or family, go on Facebook and start one of those funeral benefits. You know what they call those on Facebook?
GoFundMe page.
GoFundMe's, right? So what the company did, you got to be prepared, you got to have this thing ready to go, was they developed your freedom of choice. And how the freedom of choice certificate works, and look, it's popping up right when I'm getting to it, is at the worst time of your family's life, not if, but when, they'll go down to their choice of any funeral home. Now, they're not going to go into that funeral home, Phil, and say, hey, Phil had 30,000, what can I get? Because then guess what they're going to charge your family, Phil?
30,000.
All 30,000. So what we do is we just put a policy number on the back. It allows the family to negotiate the price. Once they come up with the amount, they'll fill it in, sign it down here like a blank check, hand this certificate over to the funeral home director, and they're done. They don't have to do anything from that point on. Now, Phil, you just pass away. Your family needs this money usually when?
Right now.
Right away.
Right? So instead of him bothering you, Gabby, the funeral home, for a check, he'll simply call this number on the front, the funeral home will. They'll send out 2 checks immediately. One for whatever was negotiated on the back, going directly to the funeral home. Anything left over, Gabby, if you're a good negotiator, will come back to you within a week in a lump sum tax-free check. So, you ready for this? Phil, do you have any questions on how your freedom of choice certificate works?
Yeah, I thought it was earlier in the presentation that we do that spiel.
I don't do it. I mean, this is where you're supposed to do it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Who's doing your training?
Casey.
In the Casey, in the PowerPoint, we already had explained that before we even went into the insurance.
No, this is where you use it. It's even in the video.
I mean, hey, Phil, you could do it how we've been doing it through the presentation, but then once you get released, you're going to have a hard copy of it that you'll just redo it. Just read so they could see it. Like, remember what I explained to you earlier? This is your freedom of choice because you're going over the final expense already right now.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen the presentation in this way, and I feel like going along with the video makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is how you do it.
It's like smoother.
Yeah, it's designed to be like it's even in the video. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I can tell you there's a couple different teams here in the office. I'm very cookie cutter though. Like I'm just whatever Tommy told me to do, I do it that way. So this is the way Tommy taught me how to do it, and that's the way I do it. And I'll get my butt kicked if I don't do it that way.
I like this way. This is the first time I'm seeing that video, so I want to do it that way.
Yeah, definitely just play the video. After the video, recap it like I just talked you through it. I just talked you through my recap. I typically would let the video play. After the video, right, it stops. And then I say, Phil, the reason why they had me play that video was for two main reasons. One, it refreshes everyone what actually goes into a funeral. A lot of families aren't aware of all the steps. I mean, let's face it now, Phil, now they say funerals, they're almost as big as a wedding. The only difference between a wedding and a funeral is a wedding, heck, you could push it back a year, you could push it back 2. Shit, you could even cancel the thing, right? But a funeral, you got what? 2, maybe to 3 days to get this stuff all organized and figured out. So at the worst time of your family's life, that's why they brought up your freedom of choice. And then I'll recap it. So how this thing works is at the worst time of your family's life, they'll go down to their choice of any funeral home. They're not going to go in there saying, hey, Phil, I got 30,000. What can I get? They'll go in there and negotiate the price. Once they come up with the amount, they'll fill it in and sign it. At that point, they'll hand this over to the funeral home director, and guess what? They're done. They don't have to do anything from that point on. Now, at the worst time of your family's life, they just lose you, Phil. That funeral home once paid when? Now, right? So instead of him bothering you, Gabby, for a check, he'll just simply call this 1-800 number. They'll send out 2 immediately. One right to the funeral home for whatever was negotiated on the back. Anything left over going back to your family within a week in a lump sum tax-free check. So, Phil, do you have any questions on how your freedom of choice certificate works?
Oh, it sounds good to me.
Great. And then, Gabby, do you have any questions on how your freedom of choice certificate works?
No.
Guess whose freedom of choice certificate it is now, guys?
Mine.
It's yours. Why? I asked you if you had any questions on how your freedom of choice certificate worked, and you told me no. So it's yours. I don't want it no more. It's yours. I don't have it. It's yours. It's done. It's a sale. It's over. You win. See what I'm doing? It's a whole psychology. Like, I'm telling them it's theirs right now, and they don't even know it's theirs. Like, the client has no freaking clue that it's theirs, but I just told them it was theirs. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
Phil, when does this come up in our PowerPoint? After which thing again?
You probably do it in the intro.
Comes
or
up
something.
right after the pie.
Yeah, right after the.
Yeah, so right after the pie chart here, look, just so you guys can see, because here, let's stop my sharing. There it is. And look, I got the same thing. So let me see. Yeah, here. Here's where you're look. So here's the pie, right? And then after the pie, this comes up.
Yeah.
I just don't talk about it until after the funeral and final expense protection.
Okay.
That's where
right over it.
Yeah, I go right after the pie. I go into that needs analysis, which I just did for you, and then I bring up this, which is this on the screen. So it's just there so you can see. You know what I mean? Like, hey, as long as you're saying the damn thing, just say it. You know what I mean? Like, just get to it. Now, let's go back to the needs analysis. So, proposal. Listen to the verbiage. The expert simulator. Write that down. The expert simulator. I don't want you guys calling it the thing, the software, the program. The expert simulator. This is Tommy Vina language right here. I used to say the programmer. I don't even remember what I used to say. He was all yelling at me one day, like, what are you doing, man? You got to build this thing up. I was like, all right, got you. So the expert simulator for you, Joe, and you got to break it down and do it each person, recommends $30,000 of whole life coverage in force to guarantee that your funeral and final expenses will never be a burden to your family ever again. Right now, Joe, it's showing you have an existing of 0, so you still have a need of 30,000, and the expert simulator was recommending making sure you had that need of 30,000 taken care of. Why? So your funeral and final expenses will never be a burden to your family ever again. Mary, the expert simulator recommended 30,000 for you. You actually have an existing of 10 from what your mom got you. You have a need of 20, and the expert simulator was recommending making sure you had that need of 20,000 taken care of so that your funeral and final expenses would never be a burden to the kids if God forbid that they were left over and Phil was no longer here. Does that make sense, guys? How I broke it down. Like, I didn't just say, hey, it recommends 30,000 for both of you.
Will not be a burden to you and your family ever again.
The expert simulator recommends $30,000 of whole life coverage in force to guarantee that your funeral and final expenses will never be a burden to your family ever again. Hear how powerful that is?
Mm-hmm.
Powerful. And I didn't make it up. I just took it from Mr. Vina. He told me, and I've been using it since, and it works. It works. He was a financial advisor, not me. I don't know shit about financial advising. Right? So, continue. Let's examine the need for monthly income protection. You don't have to play this video. Just skip it.
You only played it first?
I only played the final expense one. It's the most important one, I think. Term life. So, Joe, the expert simulator recommends you have 5 years of income protected. 5 years of your income came out to 180,000. You actually have 110. You had the 10 through your work and the other 100,000 through your car insurance company. So you only have a need of 70,000 to get you up to a full 5 years of your income being protected. And the expert simulator was recommending making sure you had that full 5 years protected. So if something were to happen to you, that Matt, Gary, Mary, whatever, Mary can have a full 5 years of your income. And then Mary, 5 years of your income based on the numbers we put in there came out to 60,000. You have an existing zero, shows a need of 60, was recommending we had that protected. Okay. After that, mortgage. Let's examine your need for mortgage protection. This is where, whenever it says this, see where it says primary? Well, primary is who? Joe. So basically for mortgage protection, it was recommending using this type of coverage. You know what this is?
Accidental death.
Accidental death benefit. So it was recommending 180,000 because that's what left on the house. And if something did happen to you, the expert simulator is recommending making sure that was protected. So if you did pass away, the house can be paid off. And then there's going to be one more thing, and it's education.
As parents.
Now, what I will tell you is, look, it's going to recommend 100K per child all the time. Mental note, the expert simulator will allow only you to give up to 200,000 in accidental death to a client at one time. So we were using 180 on the mortgage, which really only gives us 20 left over. So it recommends 100. We have an existing zero, still in need of 100, but only going to give them 20. And that's just because that's the most that member can get.
So say that one more time.
The expert simulator, well, the American Income
Just
Life
the
will only
facts,
allow
man.
you to get 200,000 of accidental at one time. It says right here, the maximum amount of accidental coverage is 300,000, inclusive of any and all AIL individual policies coverage or insuring that person. Yeah. So, it says 300,000, but the most that you can give your client is 200,000. The only way you can give them that extra 100,000 is if they're already policyholders with the company. You come back and give them more later. Okay,
Only 200,000
that's the most you can give them.
of accidental death coverage per client.
Yeah, when you're signing them up, and
family.
when you're signing them up initially, you could add more on later. It's just you can only give them 200K. I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. All right, so tip. All the benefits played out. Remember I said in the preview, in the summary, it showed what it was going to go over: funeral, income, mortgage, and education, right? I told you guys that. For you to know. It went over all these benefits. You see this button down here? Can you see my mouse? I'm rolling around and continue, right? You see that? Don't click that button while you're sharing your screen. You're scared the shit out of your client. All right?
Okay.
So what do? You stop sharing your screen. So pull them back. Bring them back, click back on it, hit continue. I'm going to pull it up so you can see what shows, all right? But pull it back, all right? So hit continue, and then look. This ain't bad, but sometimes this freaking thing will say $400, $500, $600 a month down here. And what do you think they look at when this pops up?
That number, yeah.
They look at that number, man, all the time. So pull the thing back, right? Only so you can see it. You click the next button. You have to hit next benefit. You have to hit next benefit. You have to hit next benefit all the way until you see continue. Once you see continue, you then can add anything onto your policy here. All right, which I don't personally recommend. You can view the monthly premium. So look, their recommended monthly premium was $220. We're only using $162. So the expert simulator is giving them a discount of $57, you could say, if you wanted to try it that way. All right. So there's that you can look at, but see the submit button, you hit submit, and it brings you to your super combo. Now in your super combo,
You do all that while you're not sharing the screen?
I pull that screen back right where I told you to pull it back, and it's usually just on me, and I get myself to this super combo right here, and this is where you can put in rates.
Are you saying anything while you're doing that? Like,
Oh yeah, I'm talking to them.
so what do you guys
All right,
think,
so
or-
I pull it all back. I'm like, all right, now Joe, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put everything that it just went over. I'm gonna have it all broken down. I'm gonna screen share with you here in a second. I just need maybe like 2 to 3 minutes to get these numbers in here. So, and then I'll build rapport with them during the 2 to 3 minutes. I'll say, have a couple. Listen, guys, get a freaking notepad, get a sticky note. I don't care what it is. I have these sticky notes here, right? Get a sticky note and literally write down like 4 or 5 questions that you can ask the client while you're getting the info ready. Hey, you got any plans for this weekend? I'm new to Chicago. Any good places for me to check out? Awesome. Who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl? I don't know. Just get some shit going where you don't gotta be thinking, right? Just get a couple questions down. I usually talk about anything like activities that they do. Like, so you told me you went hunting. Did you get anything this past year? You did. Oh, you got any pictures? And then that buys me a couple seconds because then they'll be like, yeah,
So
here.
you're just buying seconds to
And
get
I'm
to
just
this
buying some
screen?
time so I can start getting them rates ready.
Mhm.
So I can start popping up some rates. And then this is where you got to be good. This is where you guys got to be good. And you'll get there. You'll get there. But let me see here. We got to pull up this mamma jamma. And then I usually have the quote sheet ready. So let's just say this is the client. This is who, listen, I sat down with this lady on Friday. And it was just her initially, right? Just Asia, good old Asia, right? I think she's 32, no kids, nothing.
So this quote sheet, you got to plug in these numbers?
Yeah. See, that's why you got to be able to build rapport while you're plugging in the numbers, or you're going to be sitting there having
And
all
you're
kind of
getting that
downtime
off of
off of the super combo, which is right here.
the other page.
This is
before
the
that,
super
right?
combo right here. This is where you get the rates. All right, right here. And then what I'm doing is I'm plugging those rates into there, right, and getting the numbers ready. Now I sit down with Asia, and I'm like, Asia, keeping in mind, before I show you all this stuff, so before I show her this, just so you guys know, I'm doing this. I'm putting all these numbers in here so I can present them to her. I pull the screen back once the numbers are all in. And here it comes. You ready for the juice? So, Asia, they always make me ask, if you were to set aside just $3 to $5 for every $100 that you bring home in your paycheck every month to protect your family, if God forbid something were to happen to you, would that drastically change your lifestyle or take food off the table? What do you think she says? No. If she says yes, I'll say, okay, well, you know, what they found is we can use 1 to 2% to protect the other 98 to 99%. That's more comfortable for you, right? And if she says yes, I'll say, okay, great. Everything I'm going to show you is going to have to do with 3 to 5% of what you bring home a month to protect your family if you weren't to come home. So everything's going to have to do, Asia, with this freedom of choice certificate, which will be in place as soon as you lock in your coverage here.
So would you say they always make me ask,
They-
what was it?
They always make me ask, if you were to set aside just $3 to $5 for every $100 that you bring home in your check every month to protect your family, if God forbid anything were to happen to you, would that drastically change your lifestyle or ever take food off your table? Okay, because what they didn't want me to do was show you something that you really loved but couldn't afford. Fire.
If you were to set aside $3 to $5 every 100.
$3 to $5 for every $100 that you bring home in your paycheck every month to protect your family if something were to happen to you, would that drastically change your lifestyle or take food off the table? No? Okay, great. Because what they didn't want to do was show you something that you really loved but couldn't afford. Now, if you're going into the hour power is not power hour. We're not gonna be drinking beers for the next hour, Dan. Right? And that's why I don't mess with them sometimes. Like not the power hour. We're not gonna be getting drunk for this next hour. But the hour power is, if you were to go into work on Monday morning, Phil, and your boss goes, Phil, you've been doing really great here. I'm gonna give you 1 extra hour of work this week. You're not going to go home like, hey, Gabby, I got an extra hour of work this week. Let's go home, pack our bags. Let's hit the beach. You know, but on the flip side, if you went into work and your boss goes, hey, Phil, you've been doing really great around here. But just to meet around the shop, I do got to cut you back 1 hour this week. I mean, you might be a little bit upset, but you're not going to go home like, Gabby, we can't eat tonight. You know what I mean? So they figured an hour given or taken wasn't making a difference either way. So let's just put that hour towards something, towards protecting your family if God forbid you weren't to come home. So basically, that's the hour power. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then the $3 to $5 question, guys, breaks down to 1 hour a week of their wages.
Say that again. What did
So
you say?
$3 to $5 typically breaks down to 1 to 2 hours a week of their wages. $3 to $5 for every 100 that they bring home typically breaks down to 1 to 2 hours a week of their wages. Now, remember, if you were to set aside just $3 to $5 for every $100 you bring home in your check every month to protect your family, God forbid anything were to happen to you, would that drastically change your lifestyle or take food off the table? No? Okay, great. Because what they didn't want to do is show you something that you really loved but couldn't afford. The other analogy is the hour power. So, Joe, let's just say you went into work tomorrow and your boss goes, hey, Joe, you've been doing really good here this week. I'm going to give you 1 extra hour of work this week. You're not going to go home like, hey, April, pack your bags. We're going on vacation. I got an extra hour. Right. But on the flip side, if you go into work, your boss goes, hey, Mason, you've been doing really good around here, but just to meet around the shop, I got to cut us back all 1 hour a week this week. You're not going to go home all pissed off like, hey, guys, we can't eat tonight. You might be a little bit upset because you're not getting that extra hour, but they were figuring an hour given or taken wasn't really making a difference either way. So let's just put it towards something that would make a difference if, God forbid, we weren't to come home. Does that make sense, Joe? Okay, great. So everything I'm going to show you is going to have to do with, with 1 to 2 hours or 3 to 5%. And then I pull up my screen and I share that bad boy. And I'll say, now, Asia, option A is $100,000 of guaranteed whole life coverage. A little bit more coverage than you actually need. But just to show you how the numbers break down, at the age of, I'll just run into it. And I'll break it down. $100 a month, $80 a month, $60 a month. Asia, what happened was I sat down with her. She goes, I don't really got any kids. I don't got really much going on. It's just me and my mom. I'll go with option C. I said, okay, and why'd you choose option C? And she said, just because it's only about $2 a day and it's going to take care of everything it needs to take care of. And then she goes, hey, you know what? Can I give my mom a policy too? And I was like, well, we just got to make sure your mom can qualify. So I pulled up Mary, who's her mom, and I showed her Mary's rates. She got Mary $10,000. And now I got a $72 check and a $63 check all in one house. Came out to $135 a month.
So for her mom, you just had to go through the needs analysis.
So I just went back to the super combo and I pulled up mom's information.
Where would you put that at in there?
You're learning that down the road. Today's just talking about needs analysis, term life, whole life. I'm just going over this juice with you right now. All right. Well, don't get too far ahead of yourself. Big guy. It's like my big teddy bear over here. I gotta rub his back, tell him he's okay. But guys, I mean, what we just went over is like the best part about what we go over. So that's what makes me so excited that every other Monday I get to teach you guys about the cool shit. Like we get to go over the fun stuff, learning how to present the benefits and sell this stuff. Sell it. All you got to do is to say the words. I'm telling you.
You're a good teacher, bro.
You say these words and they work. So what we're going to do, we've been going for about an hour. Let's take 15 minutes. You guys can go use the bathroom, smoke a cigarette, whatever y'all do. All right. And then 2:30, let's get back in here. And there's 3 of us on here. I want each of us to go through, just briefly, term and whole, and filling out the needs analysis. Just filling it out. Just asking the questions. All right, we'll keep it that simple. Should take each of you guys 15, maybe 20 minutes tops to do that. All right, and then we'll break for training for the day. We'll be done by 3:15.
Okay.
I'll see you guys about 15.